Hello learners, and welcome to Modern World 2, week 3. This week's assignment is going to be the checkpoint on what did President Wilson mean by peace without victory. And this was his initial reaction in the early stages of World War I, peace without victory. And you're going to learn more about that by looking at document sets, and I'll go further into that. So the essential question is, how can peace lead to war? When you're trying to keep peace, how can this lead to war? And you're going to find this out as we go through the different checkpoints leading up to the projects. Okay, so here's a little video clip here. I'm going to see if I can find the right thing here. Actually, let me change screens. Okay, here we go. Rewind this just a second. Okay, so this is President Wilson talking about the peace without victory.
Peace without victory.
Oh, sorry, one more second back here.
They start running out of money. They start giving huge loans to their allies, more credit to the allies. And in fact, the United States, by the time we go into the war, has supplanted Great Britain as the international creditor. It's going to impact Wilson's thinking, is going to give him influence over what the allies do. When he talks about advocating for peace without victory, he actually means a peace based upon mutual agreement, where one side does not gain to the disadvantage of another, that in fact they all come together and create an equitable peace. He changes due to what he perceives as the growing threat of Imperial Germany.
Okay, and this is what happens with Germany then.
Probably the most important action that Germany takes that leads directly to the United States being involved in the war is the usage of what's called unrestricted submarine warfare. It is a type of commerce raiding. If a combatant was going to target an enemy's commerce, typically what you would do is you would intercept a vessel on the high seas, you would stop it, you would indicate that you were going to sink it, and you would allow the crew to depart. One of the problems with this is that the U-boats are very vulnerable on the surface, and the British are going to start arming merchant vessels. So the Germans decide instead that they're going to declare that any vessels found within a certain zone around the British Isles are fair game. They will not surface, they will go ahead and just fire upon them and sink them. And this is seen as really an affront to international law. The most famous sinking is, of course, the Lusitania. Or when the Germans sink the Lusitania, killing over 1,000 people, including over 100 Americans, the American public is horrified. President Wilson is very angry, of course. Several months later, the Germans sink another vessel, killing a couple more Americans, and the United States threatens to suspend diplomatic relations with Germany.
Okay, so you can see his initial thought was, let's do peace without victory, no victor. We're not going to, blame it on anybody. And then you can see how, Wilson slowly changes as we get more involved in this war. Okay, so you'll be answering the checkpoint, what did President Wilson mean by peace without victory? I definitely led you on the correct way. You will look at this document set here, and then you can use the graphic organizer to kind of organize your ideas. This you don't need to look at unless you really have a hard time picking out evidence, or even want some help with evidence, you can definitely look at that as well. But this is the checkpoint that you are submitting. It says use evidence from the document set and the graphic organizer to answer the question, what was President Wilson's vision for peace after World War I? Okay, so find that evidence. What was his vision? And what did President Wilson mean by peace without victory? And try to find that specific evidence from the document set. And remember, the document set is right here. So you're going to go in and you're going to look for those exact things. Use quotes, use whatever you need. And then here's the peace without victory document set. And then this is nice to kind of keep your ideas in line, because the document A, you'll see it here. You can write the main idea and then the evidence, the quote that really explains the vision. Okay. So if you have any questions or concerns, need help with this checkpoint, please reach out to me. But you will fill it out, you'll submit it, and then I will give you feedback on this checkpoint. Please remember though, these checkpoints are important because they do lead up to the final project, and the final projects are worth 70% of your grade. I love that you're doing the focus area, the content assessments. You need to do those. You can do additional ones, but remember 70% of your grade does come from these projects. So you need to be focusing on the checkpoints that are eventually leading up to the projects. And I'd say try to stay on pace with me. You know, I made a pace chart for a reason here. Okay, and we are on week 3 leading up then to eventually submitting everything for week 7 and 8, the final projects. Okay, so any questions, please reach out. If not, you have a wonderful, productive week. Okay, thanks. Bye.